Today, we're going to have an epic interview with Robin here, the trader who has locked in over $500,000 with Apex and overall total with all prop firms over $750,000. This is an interview you don't want to miss, and she's generously offered her time to share with us her story. So, Robin, welcome. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
That is amazing because I know that you being on the live stream and being in the Discord, a lot of traders, female traders, male traders, I am very encouraged and inspired by your journey. So before we get into the nitty gritty in terms of what are your setups, what do you look for, how do you take your profit and so forth, I guess some people have a question. Hey, is this real or not? So let's just show them the numbers, shall we?
Absolutely. Okay, so here's the Apex website. I'm logged in here and I'll just scroll down. You can see my payouts. I'm pretty much on a streak right now as far as being paid without being denied.
Wow.
But last year when we moved over to Apex 3.0, I did go through a sort of a trial and error period. You see some denieds in there. So it took me a little bit to get back into the groove. And prior to that, of course, it was a little bit easier for me back in 2023. But I did start with Apex toward the end of 2022. So It's been a nice long run with them. And I certainly have enjoyed my time with them so far.
Wow, that is amazing. I don't know about you guys, but if you're inspired by that, you can drop in the comments, inspired. Thank you, Robin. Something like that. I mean, just guys, I don't know if you know how big this is. If you saw that she basically recorded her entire account from top to bottom from 2022 to 2025, 3 years of consistency. My question to you is, what if you can do a fraction of that? How would that change your life? Right? So I'm super excited. But tell me, Robin, have you always traded the markets? Like, what was your full-time job? What did you do before that?
Right. So first and foremost, God and family come first for me. I have been an Air Force wife for 37 years, and I stayed at home while my kids were growing up. I have 3 beautiful, strong children who are adults now, and they either are or were Air Force officers as well. Wow. So it's the family business, except for me. They go out and do the hard thing for our country. And as you can tell, I'm not proud at all. I stayed home, while they were young, but then as they started to grow up, I went out and became an elementary school teacher. I taught 4th grade for a lot of years, and then I moved into administration. I taught teachers who then taught teachers of English as a second language, and I enjoyed that for quite a while. But I'm an extensive traveler. I've been to over 35 countries, and I needed more time in my schedule to go gallivant across the world. So I left my day job quite a few years ago, and I started trading options because I knew there was a lot of money to be made in the market. Didn't really know how I was going to grab my little piece of it. So I started with options. And it worked fine for a while. I made a lot of money and I lost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And, it was such a roller coaster ride for me with those 0 DTEs. It got my blood pressure up, and I just knew that I needed something that was going to be a little more even keeled. So I started trading futures. Yeah, it's been about 6 years now that I've been trading just futures.
Wow. I mean, I traded futures too back in COVID times, and today I still trade it. I do a little bit more spreads because the 0 DTEs, as you say, the theta really burns when it doesn't go your direction at the right time. So the thing I also like about futures, like you say, is because you kind of remove that time element from it, and it's a little easier. So, but yeah, I mean, it definitely gets your blood pumping up and down. If you trade options, you know what I mean. But this interview, we're going to focus on futures. So 5 years ago, you started trading futures. Did you always traded your personal money? Back then, was futures prop firm even a thing?
It was a thing, but I didn't know that it existed. I was trading my own cash account for a while. I eventually found and discovered prop firms. I found Apex first and foremost. But before I really dove into futures, I knew that I needed to learn from the best. I was flailing around, looking at different websites, didn't really know where to go, didn't want to follow some random person on YouTube. And so I sought out and learned from the best. I immediately joined Linda Raschke's paid trading room. And she's just incredible. She's a famous hedge fund manager and trader, really old school. And she taught me the real technical side of trading. We had a lot of conversations that really helped me along the way to understand how the market really works from the inside out. I learned a lot too from Anthony Crudelli, who's of course the OG pit trader and host on Ninja Trader every day. I asked him a lot of questions and bugged him until it all started to make sense to me. And he taught me how to use order flow anchored VWAP and Bollinger Bands and things like that. And RSI, relative strength index. And even though they're indicators, they're not really indicators to take a trade, just an indicator of the overall market environment. So eventually I started just making less mistakes, and it started to sort of click in my head. For me, success is just a collection of mistakes that I somehow survived. So it's been a struggle and a journey for sure, just like it is for everybody watching here. We're all on our own journey. And honestly, I was just stubborn enough not to quit.
And that is a key ingredient. And I tell my kids all the time, quitters never win and winners never quit. So you are a prime example of that. Speaking of the indicators, do you currently still use that? I mean, is it possible, for example, if you load up maybe your setup, your Ninja, and show us a little bit of your indicators?
Sure. So I can show you real quick here. This was this morning. I usually like to trade pre-market. I get up really early at 5 a.m. I like to be in the garden by 10. So I'll trade pre-market in the first hour or two of regular trading hours. My screen looks a little busy to some people, but to me, it makes sense. It's got Bollinger Bands. It's got anchored VWAP. It's got short-term support and resistance. I mark my own short-term trend lines just like you do, pivot points, things like that. I leave up the deviation bands for VWAP. Nothing really amazing. I don't have any algos or alerts that I follow, just regular old school kind of trading. So yeah, that's what I learned on, and that's what works for me.
Very nice. If you don't mind, can we pull up that chart again? Just so the newer ones, if you want to know what the Bollinger Band looks like, we'll kind of show them.
So the really thin lines here, these are the Bollinger Bands.
Right.
And price tends to stay within them in periods of lower volatility. It's not a tried and true indicator that will work every time, but in periods of lower volatility or like pre-market, for example, it really is just like a little roadmap for me. And these are times where I will size up and fade the edges. So I use Bollinger Bands the most. They really help me see where the market might be going on the really short term. And I only trade the 1 minute chart for NQ. When I first started trading, I traded on ES, and I've since moved over to the wild beast known as NQ. And with some of my Apex payouts last year, I bought myself a lovely new Genesis.
Oh, nice. I can't see it, but can you share that image?
Sure.
Very nice. Very nice.
So
NQ Terror.
Yeah. So it's official, according to the state of Texas, because my tag says NQ Trader, it's absolutely illegal for me to trade ES or RTY or anything else. I'm stuck with NQ forever. I get a lot of questions when I go through the car wash or, Chick-fil-A. They're like, what does that mean? But that's my baby.
You got to be a trader to understand what that means, right? So
for sure.
So, wow. I mean, I'm really, really surprised and inspired at the same time that you trade mostly pre-market. Would you say that is like 80% or more of your trading hours?
It's always been about 80%.
No
And
way.
honestly, I have taken on quite a few more funded accounts recently with other companies. I am with TPT, Bolinox, Tradeify, a little bit of MFF, things like that. So it takes a little bit longer for me to get those daily base hits because I trade each funded account individually. I don't copy trade.
Yes.
It takes a little bit longer, but it's fun for me and I enjoy it. So as long as I enjoy it, I'm going to continue doing it.
Virtual high five on the one by one trader. As I say all the time, I'm an average Joe trader. I'm not that guru that copy trades 20 accounts and lock in, 2 million in 6 months. But hey, listen, Robin here trades one by one and locks in $250,000, $750,000, one by one. So if you're
When I
wondering,
first started, I thought I was so good that I could just copy trade 20, no big deal. I would purchase 20 Apex accounts and run them right into the ground all together. And that got to be really annoying and frustrating. And I didn't want to feel that sting anymore. So when I
absolutely.
gave that up for funded accounts, it really was a game changer for me.
Gave it up for the better for sure.
Yeah.
So if you're wondering right now, let's say if you're struggling like us before, copy trading 10, 5, 20 accounts because you see other gurus doing it, maybe consider trading one by one. It may
Mhm.
not be for you, and maybe, but you may be surprised. So
I do know plenty of traders who are successful with it, but it's just not for me.
yeah, I
So
mean,
you
it's
have
just
to,
too much pressure for me thinking, okay, if I'm copy trading 20 accounts, is this the entry? Right? And nobody bottom tick stuff, nobody top tick stuff, which
right.
adds to the pressure, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I
So
found too that setting a certain amount of time for me to be hyper focused on the market really works best for me. That's why I choose pre-market and then maybe 2 hours into the regular trading day. So then I can go about the rest of my day and do other things that enrich my life. Go to the garden, go run errands, whatever it happens to be. But of course it's, to each his own. I have recently discovered your live stream and it's pretty addictive. And so I've been watching that for most, if not all of the day. And I know everybody else here does too. And even if I don't take, say you go long, for example, I may go short on the short term, but
mhm.
I always agree, almost always, I will agree with your thesis and your overall prediction of the market. So it's just another indicator for me. So there you go. You've become one of my other free indicators.
Well, I'm humbled to hear that. I haven't locked in a quarter of a million. Oh, I have, I think actually a quarter of a million, but not three-quarters of a million. But I'm not at 750K yet. But for you to say that you're watching my stream, I feel humbled. I tell people all the time the reason why this stream and community exists is by the grace of God. So thank you for saying that. So in terms of your like, if you walk people through your kind of game plan, then right, you can take out the chart if you want. What would you be looking for? Let's say now it's 8 o'clock or 8:30. Like, what is your
Mhm.
daily routine? What do you look for? Where are your entries and exits? How do you rotate your accounts?
So
I
truly, I believe that being self-aware is the ultimate edge in the market. We all know that in the moment is where you make your bad decisions, right?
Yep.
All of your good decisions are made before you even sit down to the screen. Today, I'm not going to lose any accounts. Today, I'm going to cut losses quickly.
Yes.
Today, I'm going to stick to my plan. And then the next thing you know, you're sitting down, I'm sitting down, I'm short or long in the trade. I'm not even really focused on what's going on. And I have to stop and think, what are you doing? Stop. And so I
Yeah.
have to really be aware of myself. And I think that it's something that I'm doing less often now because you build good trading psychology by following your plan. And that's the only way that discipline will come. So being able to adjust in the moment and knowing when to trade up or trade down or not trade at all, I think that's the true edge. And that's really what I try to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, for
I mean,
sure.
being self-aware is the first step to making changes. Like,
Absolutely.
we got a trader, Bullish Price, who trades New York very well, and then he realized he loses at Asia and London, and so
Mhm.
he had the idea of creating a pod to encourage him to not trade, and he really didn't, and he started making more profits. So, very, very good point there.
I think that it really rings true for a lot of people. They'll trade really great and get a lot of profits in the morning. They'll come back after lunch and then give it all back.
Yep.
And I was in that trap for a while and I had really had to break myself of it. I got to where I would just force myself to get up from the screens and leave the house so I wouldn't be tempted to give back my profits. And the more you do that, the more of a habit it becomes and the easier it is to have that discipline.
Absolutely. And now you're making me think maybe I should wake up earlier to trade free market. So walk me through, Robin.
Oh, I get up at 5 every morning. I'm old, what can I say? Have my coffee. I'll be at the screens around 6 probably every
Oh, you're
morning.
trading pre-market at 6?
I do.
I can't.
Central Time, so 7 East.
I can't do that.
You're not as old as I am, though. It's just my thing. I don't sleep much anymore. It
Okay.
works for me.
Yeah, for sure.
The market is a little different these days, as we all know.
Yeah.
It's a little bit wonky. It's more volatile than usual, or than it has been. I will say that it's been a bit of a struggle these past few months trading pre-market. Not quite as easy as it was back in 2024 for me,
Hmm.
but that's just me.
Is it
So you have
because
to
of
be
the
really careful.
volatility with VIX so high and the trade war and all that
Yes,
stuff?
for sure.
And then, so let's say you sit down at 6 o'clock. Can you walk us through in terms of your routine? Like, what do you do? Like, what do you look
Of
for? Are you
course.
just scalping
So
5, 10 points, or like, what do you do?
if I scalp 5, 10 points, sometimes 20 per trade, I'm happy. I'll move on to my next
Yeah.
PA account or funded account. I try to get my base hits early in the day for sure. But just like you do, when I first look at the charts, I'll look at overnight high and low. I'll see what the day might bring me. I'll look at higher time frames and things like that before I zero in onto my 1 minute chart and ready to trade. It just depends on market environment. I look at the whole thing holistically. I try to take everything into account, and it gets easier with practice, I think. Time
Yeah.
on charts is the best thing that you can do. I will look at all of my indicators. I'm a price action scalper primarily. I don't hold trades for very long. For me, more
Nice.
time in the market is more risk to my accounts.
Yep.
So I try to just get in and out quick.
Man, someone's talking my language here. In and
You
out.
hold trades a lot longer than I do, for sure.
uh,
Sometimes.
yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. Now, do you
Mhm.
think it's possible, if you're okay, you can show some trades taken up and down or some kind of triangles?
I trade so similarly to you in that I can predict where I think the market will go in the short term. Of course, nobody's right all the time,
Right.
but I will take, especially pre-market, I will take VWAP into consideration. You can see over here where price really followed the short-term trend, and that was at 7 o'clock this morning. And so it just marched right up straight to VWAP. It was pretty much a no-brainer to me that it was going to reject right here at VWAP. And I caught all of this quick short rejection right back
Nice.
to the deviation band, and it stopped right there. This is one of my favorite kind of trades. You can just watch it marching up. And I was predicting it was following that Bollinger Band. And so right here is where I sized up because I really felt confident in a quick reversal.
Hmm.
And that's one of my favorite kind of trades. And I carried it all the way down right to the edge of the deviation band. And so this was a really good trade for me this morning. And that's kind of indicative of the kind of trading that I would take.
When you say deviation band, do you mean the lower end of that Bollinger Band?
So 3 standard deviations to VWAP is what I have up. You can see they're the darker and lighter shades of blue
Okay.
in the background. And they're just, certain distance away from VWAP. And very rarely will price go more than 3 standard deviations away from VWAP before it returns. And so I always just have that up as a sort of an indicator. And you'll be surprised how often price will hang out around the deviation bands
Mm.
themselves. And especially pre-market, it just seems to attract price more often.
Interesting. So how do I add this indicator on Ninja? Is it called
It's
deviation
free.
band?
All my indicators are free. You can just search indicators. And when
Deviation
you
band, that's what it's called?
Actually, when you put on VWAP, there's an option there for deviation bands, and you can choose to have 1, 2, or 3. Thanks to Anthony Crudelli, he told me to always leave 3 on, and he is definitely right. I use that all the time. And then down below, you can see I have RSI and MACD, and I will use those just as a little guide of short-term strength or weakness in the market.
Okay. But I can't pull up VWAP for some reason on Ninja. Is it an extra indicator that you added?
It should be down there for you. Let's see here. It says NinjaTrader offers several VWAP indicators. I know that I have it on there, but they have that whole ecosystem, and I might have got mine from over there. I can certainly post it in your
Okay.
Discord when I find it exactly. I can post my list of indicators. They're all free, and they might be helpful for some people. I also have this really cool thing that is the news indicator, and it's free too. And
Hmm.
it's really great because it'll show you right on your chart, you're trading, you're not paying attention to news. And it's got yellow, orange, and red, and it'll let you know when there's any scheduled news event. And it has saved me a lot. And so I
Yeah.
find it to be really helpful. So I'll post that in your Discord as well, and people can grab that for free.
Oh, I never knew that. Thank you.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Man, dropping gems and amazing, amazing tips here. Really appreciate that. I'm taking notes here. Deviation bands and news indicators. I mean, it will basically help us from, when we're on stream, sometimes I'm like, yo, guys, what's going on? It's like we popped 100 points. What just happened?
Right,
That will
right.
help that.
Any kind of help we can get, we need.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So
Yeah.
then you trade from 6 to about 9:30, 10 o'clock. So that's 4 hours, right? 4 hours pre-market. And then you do your
On
thing.
average, I'd say about 4 hours, yeah,
So how
for
many
sure.
accounts by the time that 4 hour trading, like how many have you rotated so far normally?
All of them. So 20 PA accounts for Apex,
Okay.
usually 5 pro accounts or evals for TPT, depending on where I am. Those kind of come and go for me. And usually about 5 Tradeify and 3 bull knocks. That's about it.
So you trade mainly your PAs. You don't really go for the evals and all that?
Sometimes I do.
Okay.
Sometimes I do. I kind of moved away from the red folder strategy, to be honest.
Mhm.
I try to hang on to my PA accounts, but of course, things happen. I lose one here and there, and then I will pick one up the same day. If I lose a PA, then I'll make sure to pick one up before the end of that day because I'm just weird that way. I like to start my day with 20 PA accounts.
Yeah.
So that's a very big thing for me. I don't want to, I'm kind of OCD about that. I don't want to wake
Sure.
up and have less than 20 accounts.
Yeah. But how do you pass it though? Once, let's say you lose 1 or 2 PAs and now you get another new eval, like what would you do and how long does it take for you to pass it and get that PA again?
I'll trade the same way. I'll just be more aggressive. I'm a
Okay.
lot more aggressive. I'm an aggressive scalper anyway, but I'm a lot more aggressive when it comes to passing evals. I'll usually pass a 50K in about 5 or 10 minutes just by sizing up.
Yeah.
When price action is good, it's easier. Yesterday, I passed 6 250K evals in about 30 minutes just by sizing up and just focusing on a really good entry. I don't use a hard stop. I always have a mental stop.
Hmm.
So I don't recommend this for everyone, but I always need to know ahead of time where my trade will have been a failure so that I'll know when to get out. And I sometimes will lose evals like everyone else, but I definitely trade evals aggressively.
Absolutely. 250
Yeah,
Ks, I think you can do 28 contracts on Apex, right? Or 27, something like that.
27.
27. Okay. So then you would what? Do half, like half, enter in, or you do
I'll
full
trade
port,
I'll trade 10
10, and then scale in?
sometimes.
Okay.
Depends on price action. So I don't have like a hard fast rule for that.
Right.
When I have a trade that's really going my direction, I'll definitely take 10 more if it's an eval.
Yeah.
Like yesterday, pre-market, I think there was a really nice drop. And so it was kind of easy for me to just 10 and then 10 more and 10 more. So yeah, it's pretty easy to do that when you catch a nice move. I won't be trading evals when it's really choppy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
hard to get very much move.
I mean, it's good that you're like when I first traded the 20 PAs with Apex, I basically rotated them pretty much what you're doing. But now that I got all these other prop firms, I do have to pass the evals. I'm streaming. Sometimes I can't put the fund
Yeah.
on, but it's good that you're rotating them. And normally, like I know you say you have a mental stop, but how many contracts are you taking for your 250K accounts or someone trading, let's say, a 50K account?
Sure, of course. For a 50K count, I'll usually take 2 NQ, and that's
Okay.
my stand. If it's right at market open or if VIX is really high, maybe just 1 NQ.
Right.
But for a 250, I'll take 4 contracts
Okay.
usually.
And
Yeah.
then 4 contracts, I mean, 10 points. If you stop out, that's $800 loss. So, I mean, at what point do you manually stop out?
I will just look at levels. If it goes past where I think for short-term resistance or if it continues and shoots up right past that Bollinger Band, I'll know that I wasn't reading the market clearly. I don't have a set number. Like if it goes 10 points against me, I'll get out.
Mhm.
I will instead look at the current environment. And if it really if I didn't read it right and it blows past my current level that I was looking at, then I'll know that I need to cut the trade.
Okay. And let's say if you take a loss on one trade, do you, let's say, scale into another account thinking that this is probably the reversal point, but I got the first entry wrong? Do you do that or you just totally just sit there and wait? How do you go?
So this is where my OCD kicks in. I do not like to end the day with a red account. If I take a loss and have a red account, my new goal for that account becomes get it back to break even. So
Uh-huh.
my new goal for that account will be get that account back to break even and then leave it and go to other accounts. And so that's kind of the way I handle those.
Okay. So basically, let's say you stop out, you take a loss, I don't know, $800, $1,000 loss, then you just stop, wait. And when you like an entry again, you use the same account and try to erase the loss
Mhm.
before you go on to another account.
That's right. And then I'll just go to the next one in line. I
Interesting.
need to get that one where I feel good about it. And if it's at a loss, I'm not going to feel good about it. And it will affect the rest of my trading day. Again, I think it's a little bit of, obsession. I don't know. But when I get it back to break even, I'm happy. Things are good. Then I can move to my next account.
That's very interesting. That only works if you have some level of discipline because someone, let's say, just took a loss, right? If for them to
Mhm.
stop out and sit there and wait for the next setup, I think that's where most people have the issue, even myself. It's kind of like you want to get it back immediately. So, wow. I mean, if you're able to just sit there, wait, and get another trade to work back to green, it just shows you have to have a certain level of discipline to be able to do that, right?
Again, it just comes with time and experience, time on the screens. I think anyone watching who's just starting out, I could only suggest that you start with only one or two instruments. If you're moving from ES to NQ to gold to platinum, whatever, I think it's a little bit harder to really learn the rhythm of the instrument that you're trading. And over time, it just gets a little bit easier. And you just get better with time, just like with anything in life.
Yeah, and that's a
When I
really good
first
point. I mean, I know your license plate says NQ there, but it's the truth. Like the reason why some people ask me all the time, what are you trading? Do you trade gold? Do you trade XAU? No, I don't. I just trade NQ only. Now, I don't have this thing because of legislation in my province or whatever, like you. I just don't trade anything else. And all these markets kind of correlate anyway, right? I mean, if you look at
they do.
ES,
They do.
Russell, the Dow, they all kind of correlate. So why some people they like to jump from all this stuff, XAU gold today and then tomorrow NQ. For me, I think if you can learn how an instrument work, how it flows up and down. Sometimes people are like, how do you draw those bubbles? Well, I mean, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it's based on screen time, like you said, right? Having put in screen time, years of looking at the chart, when are manipulation points, and many times it works because we recognize those are the places where they manipulate. So
Absolutely. I think I learned to trade on ES and it moves a little bit slower and it's easier for you to find your setups. And once you really get accustomed to whatever it is that you're trading, then branching out to other things like gold or whatever, it becomes easier. Because once you really have a strategy, you can apply it to other things. But until you really have your strategy down and what it is that you look for, I think trading one or at the most two different instruments would really be maximum
for sure.
that I would say for
Yeah,
sure.
for sure. It'll
Yeah.
make it much easier too and learning
Yeah.
curve. And I think overall people do better. With that said, I mean, let's say you now take a time machine, Robin, okay, but you retain all your knowledge that you know now in terms of the markets, how it works, prop firms, and all that. Let's say you have to go back 5 years ago when you just first started trading prop firm. Right now, let's say you have a maximum of $5,000 that you're willing to completely lose. If it's lost, it's okay. Obviously, you want to make a profit on that 5K you dropped the prop firms. What would you tell your old self? And the only reason why I'm asking that is because I think people are wondering, right? They don't have 750K in payouts right now, right? So what would
Mhm.
you kind of advise yourself? You go back to the time machine and people who right now may have only $3,000 to $5,000 and they want to get into the prop game. They don't want to, lose it all. They want to get something to show for it. What's their best path? How would you go about that? What are the milestones? Can you break it down for all of us?
This is absolutely the best question that you could have asked me because I remember this so vividly. I would look on YouTube and find these people who were being successful, making all of this money on Apex. I'm sure there were other prop firms around. I know there was,
Mhm.
but I didn't know about those yet. And I wanted to be that person so bad. And I had money in the bank, but I didn't want to use my own money.
Yeah.
I wanted to use other people's money and their leverage instead of my own. I don't think that I started out in the best way. Like I said, I would buy 20, lose 20, buy 20 and hold them for a little bit longer and lose those too. It was a bad cycle. And I don't want that for anyone who's just starting out. I would highly suggest it doesn't really matter how much money you have, but you don't want to lose it all.
Mhm.
So set aside a certain amount of money that you are willing to lose before even trying to get an evaluation. If you are charging it on a credit card, please don't do that. That means you don't have the money to blow. If you can afford to lose it, then you might be ready to get an account or two. If you're really new to the prop firm game, I really suggest Apex, even with their new rules. To me, I think that they are so helpful and predictable. And I think that it's the best bet for anyone out there. There are other great options, don't get me wrong, Take Profit Trader is a great option. I think Bullnox and Tradeify, whichever one you land on, start small and get a payout before you go get more. Don't buy 20 accounts and just hope that you'll be able to suddenly read the market in a good enough way where you can pass them all and become a funded trader. So get one or two, get those passed, get a payout, and then use that payout to buy more accounts. You've got to build slowly if you want to make it in this game.
Very, very wise words that unfortunately a lot of people don't want to hear it. It's taking it slowly. I remember when I first started, I did put 20K on my credit card. I do have a couple of businesses, so I got investments and all that. It was okay. But one time it broke my heart. Literally one guy, we prayed for him on the stream. I literally in a DM told him, don't use my code. And he literally blew account after account. He told me he knew he was tilting, and yet he kept on blowing account after account. At that point, it wasn't even trading. It's just pure gamble. And my heart breaks for that. So I really appreciate you saying that, because I think this industry has done a lot of traders a disservice by showing all the bling, the Lambos and the Rolex and all that, which
Genesis.
Genesis. At least there's some utility to it, you know?
But I digress. What I was going to say was, truly, I think that there's such a great opportunity with the prop firm market. And over the years, I've mentored several people, a lot of them were women, tried my best to really help them succeed in this market and to be profitable. A lot of them, unfortunately, they get frustrated. A lot of traders get so frustrated because they just can't figure it out and they want it so badly. And my heart breaks for them because I was there and I know what it feels like. And all I can really say is that it just comes with time on the screen. And if you're blowing account, you have to size down until you can hang on to your account long enough to figure out what it is that you're looking for in the market. I know that it's easier said than done, but that's really the best advice that I can give.
Absolutely. I mean, this is a time where I would love to give you a plug. I mean, you have mentored, obviously, some people doing it. She didn't ask for it. Robin didn't ask for it coming to the interview. She just basically generously offered up her time. But if you want to share, are you still doing that right now? If you want to get in touch with you, how can they do that? Because you're a great trader. I mean, you're inspiring me. So I'm going to give you this plug here. How can they find you?
So I'm a moderator in a couple of different Discords. There's Chris the Futures Guy, who's the unofficial Apex Discord. You can find me over there. That's a great place to go for all things Apex. I'm also a mod over in Mighty Ox Trading Discord, and that is a great resource for anyone looking for all things prop firm related. So be sure and go check them out. I'm also in the FSP Discord, and I'm going to be there even more. I'm going to put some indicators in there and some links so that you guys can go and find some of those free resources that are available if you're interested in adding those to your chart. And if you have any questions for me, I'll do my best to answer them right there in your Discord.
Yeah, and we'll see whether Robin wants to hop on the mod train. I know she's pretty with her plates full right now, but we'll see down the road. And her handle on Discord is FORMONEY, FORMONEY. So if you want to give her a shout, you want to touch base with her, pretty solid trader. I'd love to just, throw it out there if you guys want to connect with her.
And I would say, FSP, you give your time every day, all day long, and you throw out great little nuggets of wisdom all day long. And I know that people have gravitated toward you, and it's really refreshing and eye-opening that you have a nice, clean stream, and you, of course, pray together, trade together, and everything. And it's just wonderful. It's a good environment, and obviously everyone else thinks so too. So thank you for that. I've been waiting for you to quote Philippians 4:13. I do all things through Christ, who strengthens me. And I know that you have, and that's what guides me every day. So thank you for streaming every day and for doing what you do, because you really do inspire a lot of people.
It's only made possible, number one, by the grace of God, and like the scripture you quoted, and also by people like you, traders like you, who generously and selflessly share your knowledge and your time. And that's something that to be honest, I'm very, very blessed to be a part of this community. I never thought this would happen. And, I tell the story of how I started with 10 people and we would still pray together. Some people think it's some kind of a marketing thing I do, just he prays and grab all the Christians, bro. I mean, it's just part of what I've been doing it from the start. So I'm surprised how God has led this group to be as such, and meeting amazing people like you. Who knows what's going to happen in the future, but I think like you've really given us a lot of gems in terms of how you trade, your routine. Are there any like last, because I think people who are watching right now, there are some people who are really on the verge of giving up and they're really on the verge of quitting, but they might have some success. They're starting to see the tunnel. What would you say to that person? Because we already talked about the person who is brand new. You already talked about that. And then can you address that person who is on the brink of really losing it and they're thinking of quitting? And that's the first person. The second person is they're getting some level of success. Let's say they got 20K payout, 50K payout, maybe even 100K, but they're like, I want to do what Robin is doing and get the 750K. So for these two people, right, person A and person B, what kind of advice would you give to them individually?
Person A who's really struggling to make a go of it, really, you just have to be stubborn. The only way I was able to keep going was my stubbornness. My own stubbornness would get in my way. I should have probably quit a long time ago because I didn't have any success to show when I first started with the prop firm world, but I just wanted it so bad. I did eventually size way down. I started trading MES, the micro ES. I went really slow. I watched Anthony Crudelli and Linda Rashke trade, and I just tried to absorb all of the knowledge that they have. I think learning from the best, and you are a great resource for them, everyone watching. Learn from the best, and it'll eventually start to sink in. So just be stubborn and don't give up. If your way isn't working, obviously you're going to need to make some changes. So you can, journal about what day works best for you. Maybe it's pre-market. Maybe you work better with London, depending on where you live. But you have to start making a roadmap of what works for you and only do those things. If you find that you're giving back all your gains after lunch, you got to stop doing that. And so self-discipline really is the key. That's what you have to do. And if you are someone who's moderately successful, person B, you just have to keep going. I did not get here quickly. It's been 3 years of, a lot of work. And anyone who's had any sort of decent payout total would tell you the same thing. It's just time on the screens, small gains add up. Those payouts start to add up. So just keep going and just refine your skill as you go. I start and end every day with extreme gratefulness. Yes. And I think you should have that in your heart. Know that the prop firm world is a wonderful opportunity, but it could go away at any time. You never know. And you can't really count on anything forever as far as prop firms go. So make the most of it while you can. And just like everyone else here, we're all here to bank together and pray together and trade together.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was amazing. I don't know how much you guys got in this interview. I mean, I took some notes. You can replay and watch this again and again. And I'll tell you one thing. The power of the community is when people come together, they have a similar goal and vision, and we remain positive, good things happen like this. Today, you may be struggling. I was struggling when I had $20,000 in debt. Robin had her time of struggling when she first started. But one thing for sure is if you do not give up, in due time, you will reap a harvest. You don't give up. So any last words, Robin, you want to give us any kind of shout outs? I mean, I think people really, really enjoyed this interview and would love to touch base with you on Discord. But any last words before we wrap this up?
Just reach out if you need anything, and I'll do my best to provide some advice or input or resources. And you can always find FSP in his Discord, and it's growing every day. A lot of people post their P&L and their payouts, but I'd like to see more because it's really uplifting and rewarding to see others' success.
There you have it. Robin, thank you so much for your interview today and taking your time
for having me
to have it. And so God bless you, your husband, your family, and grandchildren. We'll see you on live.